The story of English is part of something much bigger than itself, the Indo-European language family. This family stretches from northern India all the way across Europe to its western edges. Almost half of the world today speaks a language that comes from it. English is one of them, belonging specifically to the Germanic branch, alongside German, Dutch, and Swedish. The Anglo-Saxon beginning. When the Romans left Britain in the early 5th century after more than 400 years of control, they left behind a power vacuum. And nature, as always, rushed to fill it. Germanic tribes from what is now Denmark and northern Germany began crossing the sea. They settled, slowly but steadily, and reshaped the island's culture from the ground up. The native Celtic-speaking populations were pushed into the edges of the island, Wales, Scotland, and Cornwall. Meanwhile, the region that would become England gradually took on a Germanic identity. Over time, these different tribes stopped seeing themselves as separate groups. They became something new, the Anglo-Saxons. And that is where our story truly begins. Old English, a foreign language in disguise. The Anglo-Saxons spoke what we now call Old English. To a modern ear, it sounds almost unrecognizable, closer to a foreign language than anything we speak today. Take a line from Beowulf. Hwet, we gardena in gear dagum. It doesn't just sound old. It sounds like something entirely different. And yet, surprisingly, many of the simplest words we use every day come straight from that language. Water, child, ear, talk, thee. The most basic building blocks of English are, in fact, Anglo-Saxon, the Viking layer. But English was never a stable language. It was constantly being reshaped, often by outside forces. The first major shift came in the 8th century with the Vikings. Warriors and settlers from Norway and Denmark carved out territory in northern England, creating what became known as the Danelaw. Their language, Old Norse, blended into everyday English life and left behind words we still use today: sky, law, bag, hit, and even they. Without the Vikings, English would sound very different today. 1066, a language split in two. Then came 1066. William of Normandy invaded England and won the Battle of Hastings. With him came a new ruling class speaking Old French. From that point on, England became a country with two languages living side by side: French for the rulers, English for the common people. For about a century, this divide shaped everyday life, until the two languages slowly merged into what we now call Middle English. This is also why English has so many similarities with French and other Romance languages. In fact, nearly 30% of English vocabulary comes from French, especially in law, science, and religion, and it created something unique: layers of meaning. Take food, for example. Pig becomes pork, cow becomes beef, chicken becomes poultry. The animals were spoken about in English. The food was named in French, the language of the elite. Shakespeare and the Great Shift. In the 15th century, English went through a dramatic transformation known as the Great Vowel Shift. Pronunciations changed across the board. Vowel sounds shifted, some consonants disappeared, and spelling stayed mostly frozen in time. That mismatch is exactly why English spelling feels so inconsistent today. For example, knife used to be pronounced more like knife. Over time, the K disappeared from speech, but stayed in writing. By the time of Shakespeare, English had entered its early modern stage, much closer to what we recognize today, but still clearly different. Listen to this from Romeo and Juliet. Two households, both alike in dignity. It feels familiar, but still slightly distant, like hearing modern English through a historical filter. English goes global. From the 16th century onward, Britain began expanding across the world. At its height in the 19th century, the British Empire controlled a quarter of the globe and governed a huge portion of its population. This global expansion carried English everywhere. New lands brought new words, new inventions brought new vocabulary, and over time, English became the world's shared language. Later, American English rose to global dominance through culture, media, and technology. Interestingly, the American accent today is, in some ways, closer to Shakespeare's pronunciation than many modern British accents. A language that never stops changing, English is still changing today. Every year, new words are born, old ones disappear, and meanings shift quietly in the background. And if history is any guide, the English we speak today will one day sound just as distant and unfamiliar as Shakespeare does to us now.